Hello, my name is Andre V and I'm the founder of Parcel Central. Today we are talking about last mile deliveries and logistics, and I'm really pleased to have here a very good friend and specialist in that field, Christian Oestergaard. Hi Christian, how are you doing?
Hi, Andre. I'm good. I hope you're good too.
Absolutely. The sun is shining for not for a long time actually. We have hadn't sun here for several weeks, so I'm happy.
Okay, good. Yeah, it's the start of the year, so we everything is fresh and white. So yeah, it's going to be an
Absolutely.
exciting time.
Everybody is making their wrap ups from the peak season, and everybody is contacting also me. How can I install more lockers, or how what to do with the lockers? But this is not the thing we are talking. There are so many things to talk in logistics. But I would start this discussion with you right now. How do you feel about our industry? The logistics. Are you optimistic? Are you afraid? Are you anxious? What are you feeling if you are thinking in the state of last mile delivery right now?
I can't be a pessimist, but I because I think that we see a lot of positive things happening, and I think that the ones I talked to, they had a pretty good peak in that sense, the carriers. So I think that most of them also come back to me and say we've done pretty well. It's not just that we had the volumes, but we also had a good execution, which is also nice, because you don't want to be clogged up and with the volumes that you have. That's the main part. But I think that also that there's so many things happening right now, which actually sparked off from 24, and we will see a continuation this year of exciting things that happens, and also that we're gonna try to figure out how to act on it.
Actually, this is the same impression I'm having because also here in Estonia, I did an experiment last year. Actually, the day before Black Friday, I sent a parcel with every carrier in Estonia to another parcel locker, and it was next day delivery. With the highest volume period, they still managed to achieve next day delivery. So the same impression in a sense. Companies have high volumes, but they have adopted their processes to process those volumes, and I think we are also in a quite a good pace with our industry. What comes at least the Nordics and Baltics and other countries with good logistics frameworks.
Yeah, I think also it was. I think that you put a larger and larger effort into preparations, which is fair enough. And I think also what we have seen over the last couple of years is also an increased stability in the IT, which is it's a really really important part of it, that the things are working that they should, and you get the data where you need from your customers, you get the data to your customers as they need. We are seeing that you an increased communication also towards the end receiver, in order also to that this is a broad communication where you actually you ask them to help you, in the sense that pick up your parcel earlier, don't fill up the putter point, don't fill up the lockers, we need to get some rotation on it. It's not for you, it's actually for all of us. So I think that that's becoming like an industry and also a customer understanding that you need to help each other, which is, I think, it's beneficial for all of us. And I think also I can't talk for all Europe, but I know that we didn't have the worst weather in that sense. That helps a lot. So that's also making it fine. So
Yeah, absolutely. The snow can make it very very hard to deliver during the Christmas, but this year we were lack of snow, so in that sense we were good. But still, you mentioned that you need to collaborate with the customers. You need to educate that, but this is actually not the case in all countries. In a sense that in some countries there is almost no communication towards the customer. There is just one moment they are the courier at their doorsteps and then trying to hand over the parcel. In that since I'm absolutely in line with you, I think that we definitely have to work more toward the end customer, to work with him, to educate with him them, and to provide alternative solutions, alternative delivery methods, days, whatever, so that customer can take the control. Because I think this is very important. Customers should have the control over the deliveries.
Yeah, but I also think that the communication today is not just what you do in your apps. So it's also communication that you do in the news media, how you are, what kind of broadcasting you do. All of us are doing messages on LinkedIn or any social media as well in order to try to get an awareness about the situation. But I think, of course, you're also right in the sense that we can always become better in the way that we communicate to our customers through the apps. And I probably think that is also one of the things that's going to continue, something we learn on, and especially also as you know that in the future it's going to be completely different when we talk about AI and stuff like that. How we're gonna integrate with the AI in our daily life. So I think that is an area which is potentially is going to grow quite a lot. Maybe not fully in 25, but at least in 26, I'm sure.
Absolutely. In a weekend, you probably seen also the TikTok plan is in US was very hot topic, and everybody was talking about, not everybody, but a lot of people were talking about that. And I made a test here in Baltics, looking for the TikTok accounts. And would you believe or not, but all three biggest carriers in Estonia, Omniva, SmartPost, and DPD has local versions of the TikTok accounts. I'm not
Mm.
talking about LinkedIn or
Mm.
Facebook or Instagram. I'm talking
No.
about TikTok. So, and the other thing I was looking for DPD TikTok accounts were also only in Baltics. So in a sense that because this is very heavily competed market here between the carriers, they have turned into the customers to win the mind of share of mind of the customers. They really are communicating. So I think that the logistics industry in Europe should turn more towards end customer, not only the processes or the retailer.
Yeah, but you see that we've seen that in other industries. In the beginning when I was flying, if I had a miscarriage on my flight, I would say, or I lost my luggage and stuff, I went to Twitter. I wrote there, and I know that things were moving already in 5 seconds. This is not happening so much anymore, but people are seeking these channels in order to get their. You need to have that communication channel in control, because if you start to miscommunicate on a channel, it can really take off. And this is why I think most of the operators are looking into mastering as many channels as possible. And it's of course also driven about what kind of demographics are we in. And I know that Estonia has always been the first Wi-Fi country, as we said back in the days. So it's been heavily connected all the time. And I think that in that sense, that in many cases that Estonia is quite ahead of other countries when it comes to that part. But I think that you need to control these channels and use them because, well, the alpha generation, where are they?
Absolutely, absolutely. You mentioned also AI, and this is extremely interesting area. I think last year there was a lot of talking and talks about how there was an implementation here and there, but actually there were no proof of very significant adoption of AI. But this year we got those AI agents and sort of a next level thing. We talked before, and we are in line with the thinking that this might be quite a big thing actually for the logistics to personalize it much more than we can do it today.
Yeah, and it's gonna completely transform the way that we as end consumer are gonna behave. And I think that is going to be one of the biggest challenges for what's happening in the market today with all the consolidations we have and all the standardizations that we have. There's still a lot of things to do in the way that we operate today. But when we see what can happen, that I could actually have my own AI agent for purchasing, and I could teach it all my preferences. I could say that I don't want to buy that homepage because maybe morally I don't support them or whatever it could be, or they actually don't give me the service I want. But they have the good prices, but I don't want to support that anymore. I would like to have my favorite Pudo point, or I would like to have my favorite locker as the preferred place of delivery, but I would like to have that product. And I just tell that to my agent, and I maybe give it preference and say, I don't care when I get it as such, because you will tell me, or when I get it, when I can pick it up. But I actually control the purchase process, and I do it after my preferences. And I can do that subsequently on each different product or whatever I want, and it will take the time from me. I will just give the order and then I leave it, and then suddenly I will get a message that, okay, fine, we got it, and you got the price that you wanted because you didn't want it. It's a little bit like when you buy shares, you just put a price in and say, this is the maximum I want to buy. But you also can do that to your agent and say, search and find. I don't care about if you get it cross border, if you get it domestically or whatever. I just don't want to buy it from that customer. I want to buy it from that carrier or whatever. I want to do this and this and this. It's gonna be mind blowing, and I don't think that I'm really trying to. I spent some time with a Swedish guy last year and trying to understand what he was talking about, because he was talking about this already, and he was saying that this is going to transform the way that we're working in 27, 28, 29. And then I started to have a small dialogue with him, and it turns out that these things are already now on the market. It came so much faster with what's happening in our NVIDIA world now, where everything is going to be accelerated in a speed that we haven't seen. And these agents now are already operating in the American market. And it's just a question about that, I would love to have one. As we said, you go into your office and you're going to have a meeting in 15 minutes, and today I'm in panic, because I didn't book a room. I need to figure out where I can sit in the way that I want to sit when I talk to you, Andre, or I want to have the light in the back or whatever I want to have. All these preferences I just give to my agent. Say, I'm on my way in, I'm late, I haven't booked a room. Can you book a room for me? And I want to have this and this and this. And I don't want to have a room for 20 people. I want to have one for 4 people, because I'm just going to be, doing a video or whatever. Yes, we find it for you, and here it is. And you just go to the 10th floor and you walk in the door, and there it is on the right. It's going to help so much that we're going to get our preferences in much higher volume than we have today. Consolidation, as we see it on the market today, is standardizing things. And as individuals, I always discussed about what the individual parcel would be in the future. I think it's going to be extremely individual. Your preference is going to be in maybe in every purchase that you have, and your preferences can be many things. It can be where you pick it up and where you deliver it and whatsoever. So I think it's going to change.
Absolutely. And again, I think that this AI agent can bring it even further, so that you don't need to ask him, because he knows that you need a new shirt, and he makes the search, and one day comes to me, hey, you're gonna need soon a shirt. I have options for you. Or with this meeting case also, AI knows
that is your other agent, the other agent that make you stock inventory, that looks into
Exactly.
what do you have and what did you purchase, and when did you need to purchase toothpaste again or whatever. It's like you're gonna have these models running around taking care of you and nursing you, and they talk to each other. That's the funny thing. As we talked about, that agents will talk to agents.
Yeah, absolutely. And again, I think also that we just don't understand even how much this is going to change our industry specifically, because now we are oriented to streamline and consolidate things like parcel lockers. What I'm talking, it's about consolidation. It's effective, but now we are talking about personalization. It doesn't mean that parcel lockers will go away, because a lot of the products will go there, but how they end up there and how this is communicated, how this is decided, is totally personal. Now we are managing batches, we are managing lorries, we are managing planes of parcels, but we are going to deal with every single parcel and every single customer separately based on their preferences, but also the prices, because one thing that is right now stopping it is sort of the pricing. If there is a country where there is a free delivery model, this is not good for the development of different options, because in a sense, from my world, every delivery has specific costs involved, and it can be very different. It can be 100 times differences. So, but if we don't price those options, customers demand only the fastest and the most convenient way for them, and the inside price to the retailer only goes. So I think that we are in the verge that delivery will be separate product with separate price with SLAs for the delivery, and this is going to be paid separately. At least I hope we are going to that direction.
You would probably always find the one who try to disrupt. That is in the DNA of us. That that if we can find a new way of doing it, then that means if you go back to a model where you have everything as a price, somebody will disrupt it in order to corner in on the market or getting a market share or looking at a free delivery as a part of your marketing budget. That was how it was introduced back in the days. Somebody will always do that. I don't think we get the confirmation, this conformity we will never have in the world. But I think that it's going to also help us as carriers and operators with AI engines. I think that one of the discussions we always have is, I think the biggest problem we have in 2025 is capacity planning still. The capacity planning on our lockers, because we don't get that utilization that we need. Lockers are still a very expensive way of doing distribution if you look at it, and it's something where we can optimize if we can get this equation where we get the customers to be more proactive in picking up their parcels earlier. And yes, you also have, as you told me earlier once, that you have some places where you consolidate the different parcels into one locker. I think that can be a good idea as well. But I think that we will see that these AI agents will also help us in keeping an eye on our capacity planning and maybe also looking into, can we open up for partnerships in order to get the right amount of parcels getting a volume through these lockers, and also making, what is attractive in order to, how can we motivate people to pick up their parcel faster, because we can get the utilization up and we can get the cost down. And it can be, I know there are different rules about how you can motivate people, and I saw that we tried in Denmark this little time to get some lottery, you could say, motivation, saying that if you pick up your parcel in the first 24 hours, you are you get a lottery ticket on who to win, like 200 euro or 100 euro, whatever it is, as a part of the motivation of emptying your parcels faster. And I think that when I talk to other vendors, they're looking into the same thing, in order to get the parcels to stay shorter time, because it has an importance when you look at your investment of your locker structure, is actually that the utilization is pretty high, and that you can control, when you open and not open. I saw that you had a discussion with one of my Danish good colleagues in the business not long ago about utilization of the lockers, and I think that is going to be one of the biggest things that we have to work on. And probably utilize some of the AI capacity in order to make sure that these things are working. So it's these AI agents, which are you putting on your shoulder as an end consumer. You put them on the shoulder on any process you have in the future in order to make sure that you get the best utilization and the best product that you have. I think so.
Yeah, saying that, how to utilize capacity more. One thing is definitely to have predictive sort of statistics or predictive forecast for that, and AI analytics. But the other thing, I think it's not yet ready yet, but I think I believe we are going to that direction, and this is sharing data or interoperability between carriers, because right now our logistics systems or build-ups are like a silos. Every carrier had their own way, and it might be very not unique that on the same day 2 vans are coming to my house just because only they are from different carriers. This would be a huge saving in our logistics if we could share the data. But it's quite tricky in a sense. The competition never ends, and opening your books to the competitors is very, very hard to do.
I completely agree, and it's been it's been a subject in our discussions for the last. I've been in the business now almost 40 years, so it's been for the last 30 years when I had a real and active role in trying to make the utilization work. And it's a business where we don't share, and we don't really know who's going to be the first mover. That's always the problem. But I think that what we've seen, as I remember, you remember when we were in Berlin together at the Better Mile conference, and that there was a small startup came up to me afterwards, who unfortunately had to close down because they couldn't get the capital they needed. But I thought they had a pretty good idea, and one of the ideas is something that I actually worked when I worked in Belgium Post, was actually to get these consolidated point. I know La Poste is working on that as well. But what they did was actually that they found out that the end consumer actually would like to have a preference of a locker or a put point. So when they ordered from different vendors, that they actually got it the same place, because I know that from fact where I live in Copenhagen, that I never control who is delivering the parcel. I don't know who's doing the last mile. I maybe order cross border, but the big retailers, they also shop between carriers in order to make sure that you don't put all the money in one basket. But as an end consumer, they're playing with my convenience, because if I get it picked up, if it says it's DHL, it's one place. If it's GLS, it's another place. Unless I have this coordinated put point, which I'm so fortunate to have just around me. But it's not for everybody to have that fortune. But what they did was actually that they make this virtual address. So when you order something, you put it in to your virtual address, which is a delivery point. With that, they are consolidating, that they are doing this, they are intermediator, and the address that they put in actually refers to your preferred area. And I thought that was a brilliant way to actually be smart in a part of this little process in order to increase the convenience for the end consumer. How we can actually benefit from that type of business model, because they actually should be talking to the retailers, they should talk to the carriers as well, in order to get all of them to bet in and pay a little bit for the last miles delivery, because they will get a higher increase of consolidated delivery, which is gonna make sure that their price drop as a carrier. And then there is only one going there's only one point where you get the things, which is also saving the money for the end consumer, in the sense that they don't have to roam around in the whole city to try to find where my parcels are in a given point. So there are still these nuances, but we haven't made them really work. And it didn't work in the sense for these guys, poor guys who worked on it for quite long, because they couldn't raise the capital. But I had a good talk with them, and they had actually extremely good customer feedback afterwards. So because this is what we want to have.
Yeah, absolutely. But it shows that right now the market is not ready to consolidate it openly. The other way is to regulate it, but I don't see any interest from the governments or states to regulate it.
No.
But it might be in some day, if the CO emissions is getting more important. This is the only driver.
But you see tendencies once in a while they pop up in local authorities like municipalities who actually try to do this consolidation. But my experience, I've seen now that this is very personally driven. It's driven by some person who has a vision and would like to control that. As soon as that person makes a success, he moves to another area, and then it all falls apart again. It's I've seen this several times in the Nordics. That these drivers seem to be very individual at that side. It's not really a regulatory thing, as you talk about. It is more like somebody who has a bright idea and wants to make something of a better world for us.
Yeah, one topic more. We have been talking about that, and then we will talk it more. This is robotics and self-driving cars, because this is very big part of the industry, or at least it has very big potential to disrupt our industry. It's growing, but what is the pace there? What's your feeling for the upcoming years? Is it something really already cooked in startups that can be deployed in larger scale, or we are still looking for those MVPs that are nice, but they are not scalable yet?
It's you are really hitting it on the nail here. It's I think that we are getting closer. And I think there needs to be a lot of things which falls in place in order before you scale. But I think that if we look into what's happening in America when it comes to these robo-taxis, so the taxis that are driving themselves, they are rolled out in San Francisco. They are rolled out in actually several American cities today. And it's a part of a normal way of operating. Of course, there are these cases coming up where the taxi is taking a charge and not letting people out in the airport. I think there was an article about that not long ago. But it means that the technology is becoming a little bit more household. It's a question about, do we dare? I think, because there is no doubt about it. We need it. We need to figure out. We need to get that. There's so much waste when we look into the vehicle, in the sense that we very rarely have these vehicles driving very far, distribution vehicles. We have a lack of drivers. I think I saw the statistics now from Germany. They have 470,000 drivers in driving small and large vans, and they need 70,000 more. And we have the retirement age is quite heavily amongst drivers, because the young people really don't want to be drivers. It's hard work. It is hard work. So we need somebody to help us, something to help us in making these kilometers actually be driven by themselves, more or less. And especially when it comes from the area, the time that you are always looking at waste. When do you have waste with a vehicle? Is that right now you have it that when the driver is driving in the vehicle, you have paying for two things. You're paying for the driver and the vehicle, and you don't deliver parcels. You are doing this transport thing that you're driving from a terminal or hub into the area where you have to deliver. That is usually quite a lot of waste. Morning traffic, consolidating, and blah, blah, blah. You can easily spend half to a full hour each way. Also because you have the same problem when you have delivered the last parcel, that you have to go back to the terminal with a car or whatever you need to do. And then you have the loading situation where you just load the vehicle, which also, all these things are waste. And so if we want to get the most value out of the vehicle and the person together, we actually need this vehicle to drive itself, pick up the driver where he needs to deliver or whatever, make the vehicle drives itself, and the co-driver just jumps in and then delivers the parcel and does what it needs to be served. And then when it's finished, the vehicle drives back again. This will save a lot of vehicle drivers' time. And it's something that I think we need to solve. But I honestly, I think that we could probably have a use case up and running from a regulatory point in 3 to 6 months. I think it differs from country to country. There are already trials running around with the vehicles, but not as a distribution model. I think we could have something running up in the early 26. Scaling probably not before 27, but it's in areas we could actually get wiser on how it works. I think the models are there. I think Nvidia's new Cosmos training that they do for robots. That you actually you give it one use case and then it simulates hundreds or thousands or a million or whatever. This is going to bring humanoids into the way of working in our factories and stuff like that. But it's also the same way that the humanoid is actually, you can have in mindset, is also the person driving the vehicle. So it's also gonna make sure that this is gonna accelerate fast. So I believe we're in for transformation. I really believe that. And maybe some people say, Christian, your feet are not touching the ground or anything. But I believe in progress, and I think progress is going to come quite fast.
On the same topic, I just read the World Trade Organization forecast for the labor market for the next 7 years, and this was saying that the delivery driver is one of the biggest growing professions. And I have sort of cognitive disbalance with understanding that, in a sense that how can it grow if we do have already today shortage of them? So I understand that there is a demand for growth because the number of deliveries and then different kinds of transportation is growing. But from where we will find them, I don't see the source for that.
No, and that's why we need to solve it. We need to solve it, because if you don't solve it, you don't have a distribution. You don't have somebody driving with the parcels to your locker. You don't have somebody going to the home delivery or to the Pudo point, because it's very evident when we look into, especially when I look into the Nordics, that the young people have other ideas of what they will do in the future. It's not one of the highest priorities to take them to sit behind a lorry, be alone all day. And if you look into the congested life, I remember when we had the leaders in logistics in London last year, and I did the misfortune that I actually took a taxi and it started to rain. And I was going to meeting one vendor in London at the same time, and I was just seeing all these lorries, standing there, not moving, and with delivery times, ETA models, and all that. It must have been incredibly frustrating. And that they are fined for where they park. It's not really a fun job, and it's really long hours in order to make, especially if they are their own subcontractors, making the money ends meet. It's a huge challenge, and I think that we will see that it's not one of the jobs that pops up where you have, if you go to a school class, in the 5th grade and ask them what they want to do in the future. It's not going to be one of those things. They want to be influencers, and they want to sit in a cafe and play with their new TikTok models or whatever it is. It's not being a driver, unfortunately, in the sense, but because, as you say, we're going to need them, because it's going to be a delivery world, whatever we want and whatever we say. You see the food markets today. I have young people living on top of me, and they get food delivered almost 3, 4, 5 days a week. They don't do the same thing as I do, try to cook or something like that. They have a different way of operating, and it's gonna follow them.
Yeah, I think you are right in that sense. One thing I think is growing, and we were talking also. You were visiting some Asian countries and saw their sort of instant deliveries and find it very promising. Also, the city centers where the lorries are standing still, I think that the micromobility, the bikes and the EVs are way to go. So I think it's going to be increasing, actually, the biking instant delivery, whether this is a food or...
I was in Mumbai and Chennai here over the winter on my holiday, and when you see the service level that you have of getting instant deliveries to your place, 15 minutes of different goods and stuff like that. And they are really putting pressure on Walmart's company out there, and also Amazon, because they outperform them. And it's a completely different model. I'm not saying that one is going to move into Europe or stuff like that, but you see tendencies of it when it comes to the rapid food deliveries in the cities today, and building those into micro delivery models that we talked about for a long time. These micro distribution hubs that also Amazon is scaling out many places. There is a combination there that we also need to take into consideration on what's going to happen with the last mile, especially with a combination of lockers and put points and home deliveries, and now also these extremely agile delivery models that pops up as well. It's going to be extremely interesting to follow. So we're not going to be unemployed. It's going to be enough for us to do. So
yeah, the question is about timing, in a sense. What I'm thinking about, again, we are thinking about cool things, but my question is to you, the last question, and then I let you go. Is it 2025 where we will start working with those AI agents and robotics already? Or this is still sort of preparing year, aligning your processes in old way. I sort of feel that we have to learn a little bit this year and not to implement yet.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think we have enough in front of us this year. I think that, as I said, that there's happening so much. There's so much volatility in the way that we see lockers improving, rolling out, partnerships coming across. Partnerships we didn't see, in the beginning of 24. We see them in the end of 24. We see, InPost pushing boundaries in the way that cross borders from locker to locker, and with prices, as also are quite attractive. I think they create new markets also. It's not just going to be markets that we have already, but the C2C market is going to benefit from this in a way that if I buy a little bit more expensive products than just buying children's books or clothing or whatever, it's if you want to send a carpet from one place to another, maybe that starts to become an interesting to think from a locker to a locker, because the price model is completely different than your usual carriers. I think we have enough really to work on. But you will see that these agents are coming up. And I think it's one of the biggest things that it was really funny, you know. I get these news mails. I think it was from McKinsey or Boston Consulting Group that the discussions in Davos is going to be on AI agents, and it's not just for customer care. It's actually going to be in everywhere that we work. So I think that yes, we have to look into it. We have also to see what EU, as we are in EU, what kind of regulations we have against it, because other areas who don't have the regulation, like the American market, they're just pushing it much, much further than we are. I think that even China is more regulated than we think on how these things are going. So, but we will see that. We will see it coming. We will have use cases. But I think we have enough to do right now on making sure that we get the other things to work. It's, don't drop it out of your mind. That's my only point.
Yeah, just one thing, because it might change a lot actually. We are talking today when there is inauguration day of the US new president. And what comes to our industry, then it's tariffs. And do you think that they are going to mix up the trade, world trade things, or it's just
I think you're asking a Dane who's on the verge of losing Greenland. What do I think? I fear the worst, in that sense. I think that the Danish industry fear the worst. We have quite a substantial of our market. Our big companies. We have a lot of big companies, and their market is the American market, and they fear incredibly what's happening. I don't think we're going to see a military enforcement of annexing Greenland, but I think that it could be a trade thing. Luckily, EU is EU, and we have these gentlemen agreements that if something happens to one country, it will happen to all. And I think that especially France and Germany stepped up on the plate and was quite verbal about these things. But we know that something is going to happen. We know that it's going to be targeted. We know something is going to target against China. We are even in EU targeting against China on the electric vehicles and stuff like that. I think tariffs is going to be a big thing. So it's, that some of the optimism that we also have is a little bit like we have to, see what's going to happen at the end of this day. I think the first week here is going to be quite an interesting week, and we will see what's happening. But it's going to be more volatile than we think, it's in that sense it's an interesting year. But I think from a logistical point, we have a lot to do. It's not that the world trade is going to stop up tomorrow, but it's gonna transform, and we're going to see some more movements. We already seen movements from China moving into Turkey, moving into Europe. The warehouses are here. We have Temu who's transforming the delivery models. We have Amazon now following up because they saw that a huge part of their market just disappeared with the Temu model. Shane, and all the sustainability discussions about clothing and stuff like that. There are so many things happening right now that the ones. We need an AI engine from NVIDIA to actually just have an idea about what's going to happen. So yes, it's going to be you raised a big point there.
Yeah,
it's running around here all the time.
But at least this is one thing that we can agree, that this is not going to be a boring year.
No, no, absolutely.
Okay, Christian, it was nice talking to you. We could talk hours and hours, but we have to end it in some point. Luckily, we have a possibility to meet already in few days and then in few months time. So everybody who wants to meet Christian also are welcome to Barcelona this week and to Berlin in the beginning of March.
Yeah, March also. Yeah.
So thank you, Christian, and have a nice day.
You too. Thank you.